Well, hi, and welcome to this little segment we like to call Bible Basics, an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Bible. Today I want to talk to you about the first 5 books of the New Testament. Those are the Gospels, the first 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then the 5th book, which is the book of Acts, or the Acts of the Apostles. So let's begin. The first of those Gospels is known as the Gospel of Matthew. And it's thought to have been written by the disciple Levi, who was a tax collector before he became a disciple of Jesus Christ. And in the Gospel of Matthew, he's called Matthew. Now, Matthew is trying to talk to a Jewish audience. So he's writing to people who already know the Old Testament. And they're waiting for the Messiah, the anointed one, to come and save them. And what Matthew does is he demonstrates through the life of Jesus and through quoting scriptures how this Jesus is indeed the Messiah they've been waiting for. In the Gospel of Mark, we find that the audience is completely different. The audience there knows almost nothing about the Messiah. They're not Jewish followers. They're Gentiles, non-Jews. And so Mark is teaching them about the Son of God rather than focusing as much on the language of the Messiah. And you don't find as many Bible quotes in Mark because people were unfamiliar with the scriptures then. As to who wrote Mark, we're not sure, but we believe it was written by Barnabas' cousin, John Mark. You may remember in the book of Acts, which we'll talk about later, that Paul and Barnabas went on a missionary journey, and they went to Crete, and they took with them John Mark. But by the time they had left Crete, John Mark had given up, and he returned home, and Paul and Barnabas traveled alone. But tradition has it that John Mark and the Apostle Peter were companions. And as a result of that, what we find in the Gospel of Mark are the Apostle Peter's recollections, the Apostle Peter's account of his relationship with Jesus Christ, which Mark then recorded. The third gospel is the Gospel of Luke, and Luke is thought to have been written by Luke the physician, one of those who traveled with Paul on his missionary journeys. He wasn't Jewish, he was a Gentile Christian, and he had not met Jesus, and so what he did was the work of a historian. He put together, he looked for all of the sources and stories he could find and brought them together in the Gospels, in the Gospel of Luke, to tell us about Jesus' birth, life, death, and resurrection. And then he even goes on to do a volume 2, which is known as Acts, or the Acts of the Apostles, which recounts the story of the early church after the resurrection of Jesus through the life of Peter, and then for the bulk of that book, the Apostle Paul. The fourth gospel is the Gospel of John, and it's thought to have been written by the youngest of the disciples, John. And his gospel is different from the other 3 in that it recounts a whole bunch of stories that were not told in Matthew, Mark, or Luke. And in fact, he leaves out a lot of the stuff that those other 3 gospels talk about. He offers us a unique perspective on this Jesus. And interestingly, when you read the Gospel of John, you'll see that this John disciple is described as the beloved disciple, as if there was a kind of a rivalry between the Apostle Peter and the Apostle John. So there you have it. You have your 4 Gospels, each focusing on something different in the life of Jesus. You've got Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then Luke volume 2, known as the book of Acts, or the Acts of the Apostles. So there you have it, the first 5 books of the New Testament. Till we see each other again. Bye for now.